All right. So in our last episode, I basically called out every CSM who has ever avoided money conversation and hoped that nobody would notice that they did that. And based on the response, I got a lot of you who have felt seen whenever I talked about this. So here is the thing. Knowing you need to be more commercial is one thing, and actually doing it in the moment on a live call with a customer you care about, that's a completely different challenge. So today I am giving you the playbook, my playbook on how to have those commercial conversations. So welcome back to the Customer Success Pro podcast. I'm Anika Zubair, and this is part 2 from Friendly to Commercial, how to talk about money without feeling slimy or salesy. If you did not catch part 1, please pause this episode, go back and listen to that first. I published it last week. And that episode was all about the mindset shift that we need to be having in customer success and really in our entire identity and our work identity, because we are keeping ourselves stuck in the friend zone. And today we want to get tactical and practical and move into that commercial revenue value focused role that I know all of us want to be in. So I'm going to walk you through a framework called the value bridge. I'm going to give you actual language that you can use in real conversations. And I'm going to cover renewals, expansion, pricing pushbacks, the dreaded, we are evaluating other options at the moment, all of those kind of things. I'm going to do it all in a way that feels natural, not scripted, that feels truly strategic and not slimy or salesy, because that is the whole point. You should never, ever feel like you're putting on a different persona to talk about money. You should feel like you are being the best version of your customer success self when you talk about revenue and money with your customers. So let's get into today's episode. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Anika Zubair, and welcome to the Customer Success Pro podcast, your go-to space for real talk, expert advice, and actionable insights in the world of customer success. I'm a CS executive leader, award-winning strategist, CS coach, and customer success fanatic. I help CSMs and CS leaders build the skills and the confidence to become revenue-driving pros and scale world-class CS teams. So whether you're brand new to CS or a seasoned leader, this podcast is here to support your growth. Because customer success isn't a destination, it's a journey. And I'm here to be your guide and navigate every step of your journey. So join me every Wednesday where you'll get fresh CS tips, tricks, and strategies you can actually use. Some weeks I'll share my own insights and best practices from working in CS over the last 13 years. And once a month, I'll bring on expert guests to dive into the most relevant and pressing topics in customer success today. So if you're ready to level up, hit subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you tune in, and let's make your CS journey a little bit easier together. Okay, so let me walk you through the value bridge. This is the framework I teach inside of my programs, courses, workshops, and I really help teams across the world with this bridge that we're about to build. And it's a thing that constantly gets the biggest reaction from a lot of the customer success managers that I work with, because they finally start to see commercial conversations as something that they can actually do rather than something they should fear. And the value bridge has 5 steps, and it's the reason it works because it doesn't start with money. It starts with value. And it builds a logical, natural path to the commercial conversation so that by the time you get to the money part, it feels obvious, not forced, not weird, not awkward. And I'm going to break it down. I'm going to give you the 5 steps. I'm tactical, practical, want to just share with you. So step 1 is anchoring in results. So every single time you have a commercial conversation, it should start with what the customer has already achieved with your product and service. Not what they hope would want to achieve, not what other customers have achieved. What did this exact customer that you're talking to, what have they done? What have they actually done with your product and service? This is your credibility moment. This is where you remind a customer, and honestly, remind yourself that you have actually delivered value in this relationship, in this conversation, in the usage of your product and service. And I'm not talking about saying your adoption is at 85% or 30 people out of 50 people are logging in. I'm not talking about the over the past 2 years, you've done X, Y, and Z. I want you to say over the past 2 quarters, your team has reduced onboarding from 45 days to 22 days, or like based on the volume of new clients that you've onboarded each quarter, you are saving like roughly 10 hours a week by going through this new way of onboarding using our product and service. That's like 200 hours per quarter. Do you see the big difference of where I just did that? Like one is about a metric and the other is about a business result. And business results, by the way, that is the currency of a commercial conversation. So before you ever bring up a renewal, an upsell, or even a pricing discussion, you need to anchor in what is already working because people are far more invested in something that is already proving its value. And that is why selling to new prospects versus selling to your original customer or people that are using your product is so different. And it's why I train differently. I know there's lots of sales coaching and sales workshops that a lot of teams bring in like a sales trainer to help their customer success teams or even help their sales teams. But the problem is selling to your existing customer base versus selling to your, let's say, new prospect totally different because people want to see what's working. People want to understand what's already working for them, the value that it's already providing. So that's why you want to start in anchoring in the value that you've already delivered for this customer. Now, the next step in this value gap that we're filling, the value bridge, I should say, is naming the gap. So once you've actually shared the results, the next step is to identify where there is still untapped potential. Now, this is not about creating problems per se, but this is about being honest about where the customer could be getting more value than they currently are. And this is where your strategic CS brain is an absolute superpower because you know things the customer does not know. You know which features they're underutilizing. You know which teams in their organization could maybe benefit from more product usage. You know which similar companies to theirs in their industries have seen better results by using your product, but they're not seeing those results just yet. Naming these gaps sounds something like this. Hey, customer, based on what we've achieved together so far, there's an additional area I think we should be exploring. Your customer-facing team is using the platform really, really effectively, but your ops team, who you mentioned is responsible for reporting to the board, is still doing that manually. If we brought them into the platform, that reporting workflow could be cut in half. Did you notice what I did there? Did you just hear? If you didn't notice the difference, rewind. Like, play back what I just said, because what did you notice that just happened? You didn't say anything like, hey, customer, you should buy more seats. You said, hey, this is a problem. I noticed it, and here is how we're going to solve it, or how I would like to help you solve it. That is the value bridge in action. You are literally connecting current value to future potential. All right, step 3 is quantifying things. So quantifying the impact. This is where we end up dropping the ball. I know I've dropped the ball here, and in customer success, we're pretty bad at quantifying our impact, right? So what ends up happening is a CSM will name the opportunity, but they do not put a number on it. And without a number, the customer has no way to evaluate whether it's worth pursuing. Quantifying the impact, by the way, it does not mean that you need a 30-page ROI report or the square root of pi or whatever. Like, it truly means that you need to connect the opportunity to something that is measurable, that matters to your customer. Now, that might sound something like if your ops team is spending 10 hours a week on manual reporting and we can cut that on half, that is probably about like 200 or 300 hours per year back in their calendars. And let's say like at an average cost, like $50 an hour, that's like $13,000 in recovered capacity. For an investment of X, that payback period is less than 3 months. Again, you are not selling. You are simply doing math for your customer. Math is not slimy. Math is literally adding numbers together. Math is helpful. Math is what your customer CFO wants to see. Okay. You just need to basically make the math make sense for them. And I've said this on multiple other podcasts as well. All right. Step 4 in this bridge, in building this bridge, I should say, is making the next recommendation. Now, this is the moment of truth. This is where a lot of customer success professionals will bail out. They will do steps 1, 2, 3 beautifully. And then they end up saying something like, so just thought I would flag that for you. And if you ever want to explore it, just let me know. They keep it very passive. They keep it very like almost like that's being helpful. I don't want to be overly pushy. No, 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 no. No one more time, because no. I hope that you're seeing a pattern here that you've done so much work and now you have anchored in results and you've named the gap and you've quantified the impact. Now you need to make a clear, competent recommendation. And the language that works the best in this is saying something like, based on everything we looked at, my recommendation would be to expand your licenses, include the ops team. I can put together a proposal that outlines the scope, the investment, and the expected timeline for results. Would that be helpful if I had that ready for our next meeting? Now, your customer might say, actually, it's too soon for us to talk. Let's revisit in a quarter. That's totally fine, by the way. Now you know for the next QBR, you should bring this up again. But more likely than not, if you truly showed value to your customer, if you identify the gap and the growth potential with them, they're going to be like, yeah, actually, let's jump on another call next week or next month and talk about this. Okay, that is it. That is the commercial conversation. It's not a pitch. It's not a close. It's not even a recommendation from a trusted advisor saying something to close a deal. It's literally just evidence. It's evidence of what they're doing, what gaps they have, and how you can help them take them to the next step. And notice, you're not asking, do you want to buy more? Nowhere in there did I say buy more licenses or you need to pay more. You are asking a question, which I would love for you to put into your vocabulary, is saying, would it be helpful if I prepared you for this, or if I prepared something for you so that you can take back to your team? That is the energy difference between selling and advising. And the outcome is the same. The energy, by the way, that's completely, completely different. All right, fifth step in the bridge. I want you to navigate the responses, okay? The customer is going to respond one of three ways. They will say yes. They will say not right now, or they will push back on the price or timing, okay? Those are the three buckets that they're most likely going to tell you. And here's where your preparation actually matters. If they say yes, great, amazing. You move forward, set timelines, loop in whoever needs to be involved, keep the momentum, build that proposal that you promised you were going to build for them. But if they say not right now, that's completely fine too, by the way. That's a great answer, okay? When they say not right now, your job is to understand two things. Why is it not right now? Okay. And then the second thing is setting when is the right time. So if they say, hey, no, not right now, I want you to say something like, I totally get it. I understand timing is related to a lot of different things, but I'm curious, is the timing actually related to budget cycles, or is there something else about the scope that you would want to adjust? Either way, can we put a placeholder in the calendar for maybe next quarter so we don't lose momentum on this? See the difference? We're just moving things forward. Okay, next quarter, next year, whatever it is, right? And if they push back on price, which is another reason why your customer might push back, this is where you're going to anchor in results. And this is where you have to be really, really clear on what case studies, results, what really matters, right? And this becomes super critical to know your numbers here, because you do not defend the price. I see way too many people defend the price. You don't talk about the price. Please don't talk about the price. I know I'm saying this again and again, but the price actually doesn't matter. What you need to do is if they say, okay, it's too expensive, or this isn't the right budget for us right now, I want you to reconnect to the value and say something like, hey, I hear you on the investment piece. Let me bring you back to what we looked like earlier, okay? The recovered capacity alone covers the cost of within 3 months. You would get an ROI as quick as 3 months. And that is before we factor in the time savings for your board reports. The question is really not whether this investment makes sense. The question is whether the timing works out for you and your team. Do you see how none of those, again, sliming, all I didn't do salesy or slimy tactics. I just repositioned. Do they actually want to make some money, save some money? None of that is pushy. It's just all grounded in value, data, and the genuine interest in helping customers make the best decision for their business. Quick break from the podcast because I want to talk to you directly for a moment. If you're a customer success leader and you have been listening to this episode and this 2-part series and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I know this is so important, but I also see the big gap with my team right now. They just do not feel commercially confident, and they're not actually having these conversations that I've been talking about for the last 30 minutes. Then let me paint a picture for you, okay? Right now, your team might be avoiding these commercial conversations, and they might be actually missing tons of expansion opportunities, and they might be going into renewals hoping for the best rather than leading with a plan. And that is what is keeping both you as a head of or VP of customer success invisible, but it's also turning your team into a cost center rather than a revenue generator. And honestly, you need to be recognized as a strategic revenue partner by your peers and your CEO, and your team also needs to help you get there. But I want to help you do that. So instead, I want you to imagine a world where your CSMs walk into every customer conversation knowing exactly how to connect value to commercial outcomes, okay? And your CEO comes up to you and say, oh my gosh, our CSMs are amazing and they're the benchmark of how to actually operate as a revenue generating team. Now, imagine your CSMs being that trusted advisor and trusted business guide to your customers because they know how to have those commercial conversations. That is exactly why we built the workshops that we work with within Customer Success Pro and within the teams that we work with. These workshops cover everything from objection handling and renewals, showing value and ROI, moving away from check-in calls and moving to value calls. Every single one of our workshops covers the commercial skills that we talk about within this podcast, and it helps your CS pros build that executive presence and the strategic frameworks that turn those good customer success pros into revenue generating experts. And this is something that we work hands-on, tactical and practical, and every workshop has a worksheet as well as tactical scripts that your team can go and take back and use on their next customer conversation. And if you're interested in helping your team level up, head over to thecustomersuccesspro.com/team-event and learn more. I would love to work with your team, and I would love to see a way that we can make sure your entire team feels commercially confident. So please reach out. The link is in the show notes. Okay, let's get back into the episode. All right, so that is the value bridge as a framework, and I hope you go back and really start using that in the customer conversations that you have with your customers coming up. But I also want to give you more specific language for 3 different commercial scenarios that I think I see most customer success professionals face, because I know what it's like to kind of understand a framework conceptually, but then freeze when you're actually on the call. So let's go through 3 scenarios that I see most often, okay? The first one is the renewal conversation, which is a revenue conversation. And let's say the renewal is coming up in the next 90 days and you've been delivering on value, the customer is happy, but you have not talked about the renewal yet. Here is how you open up that conversation. I would say something like, I want to set some time aside today to talk about the road ahead. Your renewal is coming up in about 90 days. And before we get into the logistics of all that, I thought it would be valuable to step back and look at what we've accomplished together and where we can drive even more impact in the next term. Does that sound good? Shall we put some time in for next week to do that? Simple, clean, no apology, no sorry, I have to bring this up. You are framing it as a strategic conversation, not an administrative one, okay? And then you walk them through that value bridge that we talked about earlier, anchoring in those results, naming the gap, making sure you have numbers, and making the next recommendation step to them. And then if you do all of this within 90 days, by the time the actual renewal paperwork needs to be done, the customer is already mentally committed because the renewal becomes a formality, not like a negotiation. They've already kind of seen what makes sense to continue to use the product and service. All right, another scenario where I know commercial conversations are difficult is the expansion opportunity conversation. So let's say you're on your regular check-in call with a customer. The customer mentions that they are hiring a new team, or they mentioned a new initiative that aligns perfectly, by the way, with a capability that they're not using within your product and service yet. This is how you transition naturally, okay? You are going to say something like, "Hey, customer, that is so exciting. Actually, what you just described is exactly the kind of use case where I've seen other customers get a huge lift from XYZ feature that they're not using. Can I share a quick example of how a similar team has approached this?" And then you share like a brief case study or an example or a demo of how another one of your customers use this, okay? This is not a pitch. It's just a story. Like company X was in a similar position to you and they were scaling and they were onboarding new team members and they found that adopting our product with this capability cut down their, ramp up time of their new hires by X%, right? And like that then that like bridges to the recommendation of like, it makes you the bridge that basically makes you think like, hey, I think there's a real opportunity here for you and your team. Like if you're open to it, I would love to map it out. And again, these are just recommendations, by the way. You're just putting together what makes sense for your customer. You're not pitching. You're not trying to force anything. There's no pressure here. It's just pattern recognition and a willingness to do the work to help your customer succeed. The third scenario is the absolute dreaded. We are evaluating other options at the moment. I hate hearing when this comes up, and I know it happens more often than not. And this one really catches customer success professionals out in the cold sweat because the customer tells you they're looking at competitors, and in your health score, the customer looked perfectly healthy. But first of all, I just want to tell you, breathe. This is not rejection, by the way. This is just information. And it is actually a gift because now you know where you stand. You know that they're leaving or the potential of leaving. And here is how you're going to handle it. You are going to tell your customer, "Hey, customer, I appreciate you being transparent with me. This is exactly the kind of open communication that makes this partnership work between us. And can I ask what is actually driving this evaluation? Is there something specific you're looking at that you're not getting from us? Or is there like more of a standard procurement process that you're going through?" That question is everything because it tells you whether this is a real threat or maybe, again, their organization is doing a checkbox exercise where they have to do procurement for every year of renewal. And it shows that the customer that you're basically not panicking, that you're curious. You really want to know what's going on in their business. And if it is a real concern, lean into it. Ask them more questions. Tell me more about what is missing. I want to make sure that we've explored everything on our side and inside of our product before you go and make a decision and spend time moving off of our platform. And if it is like a procurement process, position yourself as strategically someone who's like, "Hey, I get it. A lot of our customers go through similar processes. What I'd love to do is put together a comprehensive value summary of everything that we've achieved together over the last year, but also the roadmap of what next year will look like staying on our product and service." That way you have something to really compare us against. And honestly, I think when you see the full picture side by side, you're going to look and realize everything that we offer is just really, really strong compared to our competitors. Again, all of this is confidence. It's not desperation. It's a partnership and it's not panic. All right. Again, tactical and practical in this episode. I want to share some tips. You're probably listening to me say some of these scenarios with customers and like, "Oh my gosh, Anika, you're so articulate. You've got this under control. You know how to speak to customers." Well, yes, I've been doing it for 16 plus years now. Almost, actually, if you include my experience outside of B2B SaaS, it's been 20 years of my career where I've really practiced the tips that I'm sharing with you. But these advanced tips that I'm going to share with you are going to help you become better, okay? I want to make sure that you're able to feel confident in the commercial conversations that you're going to have. So I want to give you a few advanced tips that are going to really elevate how you approach these conversations, okay? The first tip is pre-frame the commercial conversation. So one of the simplest things you can do is tell the customer at the beginning of the relationship that you will be having commercial conversations, not as a warning, but as a standard practice. So when you do a kickoff with a new customer, include something like this. "Hey, part of my role is to make sure you are getting maximum value from our partnership and our product, which means regularly we will be looking at the results together and explore where there is room for you to grow and make sure your investment is aligned and that you're getting the proper ROI from using our product and service. And I want to make sure that I have these value conversations with you regularly. Again, you're setting an expectation. You're telling a customer, hey, we're going to have commercial conversations. We're going to have value-driven conversations. It's not a surprise. All right. They are going to actually love you for this because they're going to see you as more strategic when you say that. Tip number 2 is using my phrase that I love using, my recommendation, instead of saying something like, I think you should. Okay. This is super subtle, but it's super powerful. I think you should upgrade sounds like an opinion versus my recommendation that you should upgrade sounds like a professional advice, counsel, you name it. It positions you as an advisor, not as a salesperson. And it gives weight to what you are saying. All right. Tip 3, which we forget, and I want to remind you to do, is always tie everything back to their language, not yours. If your customer's VP said something in a meeting that their top priority was operational efficiency, then every commercial conversation that you should be referencing in the future should use the words operational efficiency, not your internal terminology, not generic industry language. Use their language, their words, their priorities, their framing. Because you know why? It'll trigger in their brain, oh, this is important in our business because I've said it's important in my business. So when a customer hears their own language reflected back in a commercial conversation or a commercial recommendation, it does not feel like you're selling them something. It feels like you are actually listening. Tip 4, practice the art of the pause. After you make a recommendation or share a number, I want you to stop talking, okay? Do not fill the silence. Do not immediately say, but no pressure, or just something to think about. Don't say anything. Literally shut your mouth. Put a piece of virtual tape on your lips and pause and give the customer space to process. And it communicates confidence. And when you rush to fill in the silence after naming a price or a recommendation, you are basically showing you're insecure in that price or you don't believe in that price, okay? And I want you to just take a pause once you've said the price, all right? This one takes practice, but it's one of the most powerful things that you can honestly do. All right. And my final advanced tip for you today is document everything in the language of business impact. Okay. After every commercial conversation, I want you to follow up with a summary that connects everything that you've been doing back to business outcomes, not features that you discussed, not product capabilities, business outcomes. Okay. Following up on our conversation today, we discussed the opportunity to extend the platform to your ops team, which based on our estimates would recover approximately 200 hours annually and reduce board reporting prep time by 50%. I've attached the proposal with the breakdown and expected timelines. Let me know when you have had a chance to review, and I will block time out for us to discuss. That email does more for your commercial credibility than any conversation ever could, because it shows the customer that you are really serious and you are organized and you think in terms of their business and not just your product. All right, I have given you so much in this podcast episode, and we are now at the point where I want to challenge you with the weekly challenge. So here is your challenge for the week, and this one is the real deal. Last week, I asked you to identify one customer where you could see a commercial opportunity and write that down, what you would say, okay? I hope you did that. If you didn't, again, pause this episode, go back to last week's episode, listen to it, really write that down. And if you haven't already, take a picture of it and share it with me because I'd love to be your personal accountability coach. So go do that, go write that down, and then come back to this week because this week I want you to actually go and have the conversation, okay? Here is the challenge. Pick one customer conversation you have this week, whether it's a business review call, a check-in call, whatever it is, okay? And I want you to use the value bridge that we talked about in this episode, okay? Anchor in their results. Share something specific they've achieved, right? Name a gap. Identify one area where they could be getting more value. Quantify it. Even if it's a rough estimate, give them a number. Some number is better than nothing. And then make a recommendation, not just I thought I would mention it, but a real recommendation of what they should do. And then Figure out how to navigate their response, whether it's a yes, a no, or something in between. Stay curious, stay confident. And after the conversation, I want you to write down 3 things. What went well? What felt uncomfortable? And what would you do differently next time? Okay. That reflection is where growth is actually going to happen and where you start working out your commercial muscle. Because, like I said last week, and I'm going to say it now, this is all a skill. And skills get sharper with reps and reflection. And that's why when we do corporate workshops and trainings with the teams that we work with, every workshop is hands-on, tactical, and practical. We have actual worksheets where teams work through a problem and we practice. We spend time in the workshop actually practicing because we need to get our reps in, all right? And once you build in your reflection, once you've written this all down, I'd love for you to go ahead, go onto LinkedIn, take a picture or a screenshot of what you've typed out and share it with me. Or if you want to publicly share it, please tag me so I can make sure to see it and endorse you and make sure that I'm your accountability coach, because I want to celebrate all the wins of us becoming commercial together and really navigate these tough moments in customer success together as well. All right, we covered a lot in these 2 episodes, and it is a close to the 2-part series. But just a reminder, across these 2 episodes, we have covered part 1, which is about the mindset, tackling all of that. And we covered that over 42% of customer success professionals want more commercial skills, and they think that that's their biggest weakness, but they don't know how to actually fill that gap. If you're part of that 42%, or if you're a CS leader feeling like your CSMs do not have the commercial skills, well, we have the workshops and trainings to help you. So please do get in touch. Okay. We also covered a lot of the mistakes that CSMs are feeling when it comes to being commercial, like thinking it's a dirty word and asking for permission. And we covered so much more in today's episode, because other than the mindset shifts that we covered in episode 1, today in part 2, we went tactical and practical. We walked through the value bridge framework, which I love sharing with teams. We anchored in the results. We made sure we had real impact, and we talked about recommended next steps as well as how to handle objections from our customers. And then we tied it all together to make sure that you practice all of this and get your reps in when it comes to actually using the right language to have the commercial conversations with confidence with your customers. So as I wrap up this series, here is what I want you to take away from all of this, okay? Being commercial is not a betrayal of who you are as a customer success pro. It is the fullest expression of customer success, okay? When you can connect value to revenue, when you can guide a customer through a commercial decision with confidence and clarity, and when you can be the person they trust to have money conversation, that is when you go from being a good CSM to being a truly indispensable one. And the market is evolving in this direction, by the way. It is moving towards it, whether we like it or not. The CS role is being redefined right now. And the CS pros who thrive are the ones who can be both deeply customer-centric and commercially sharp. Those are not competing skills. They are complementary ones. So go and have those conversations with your customer, build the bridge, and stop apologizing for doing the most important part of your job. And if this series resonated with you, can you please do me a favor and subscribe to this podcast if you have not already? Hit that subscribe button on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. And if you've made it to this point of this episode, you are truly an OG listener. And being an OG, I would love for you to go to the comment section in either Spotify or in YouTube and go ahead and do the little clap emoji, okay? Just comment clap emoji, because then I know you've come to this point of the podcast and I want to clap to you because you've really invested in your growth and your success. So go ahead and leave a clap emoji so I can clap right back for you. And if you haven't already, please feel free to share this episode with your CS bestie, because I want to normalize commercial conversations within customer success. And I just want to remind you that you truly are a commercial and strategic customer success pro. You just need to use the right language and get your reps in. My name is Anika Zubair. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I cannot wait to see you next week for our next episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Customer Success Pro podcast. I hope you picked up something valuable to take back to your team. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to me if you took just 10 seconds to leave a review on Apple or Spotify. It helps more CS pros like yourself discover the show. And creating new episodes takes a lot of work, so leaving a nice review keeps me motivated to keep creating. And don't forget to hit subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcast episodes. I drop a new episode every Wednesday packed with practical tips. And if you've got a topic you'd love for me to cover or want to be a guest on my show, send me a message. All the details are in the show notes. I'd love to hear from you. And hey, if this episode helped you, share it with a fellow CSM or CS leader. Remember, sharing is caring. Cheers to your CS journey, and I'll catch you next week for our next episode.